Alright, so I'm in the middle of making some foot paws and figure I'd show you guys exactly how I kind of go around this sort of thing, just for fun. So you can see here I have my toes kind of very roughly carved. I'll try and not get in the front of the camera here. Very roughly carved out. This is 5 cm or approximately 2-inch foam. You can do it out of 1-inch foam and then just layer two together. Totally up to you. I just happen to have a bunch of 2-inch foam on me, so that's what I went and did. But you can see that shape isn't really kind of grooving for me. The toes are very skinny, very narrow. So we're going to go ahead and flesh those out. So how you go about doing that is take one of your middle toes, or any of them, and what I do is I make a duct tape pattern for them. So you can see here, this is the duct tape pattern that kind of pulled off my middle toe. I traced it down the middle, cut it off, cut the darts in, and then you have one for one side, and you flip it over, and you have it for the opposite side. You could do that the same thing for your outside toesies. So there's the outside bit, and this would be the inside bit for the same toe. Once you have those, you can carve them out of any inch foam you want. This is 1 centimeter foam right here. So you can see this is these two shapes here that go together to make this kind of outside toe shape. And once you have this, you can put it over top. So you can see all my scissor marks on here. It's a little bit choppy. When you cover it with fur, you totally wouldn't see that. But what I go ahead and do is lay this over top, and then this will be glued on. And what this does is it smooths out the complete outside surface, so that way it's nice and clean and tight, and takes fur really well, and gets rid of all the little bumps underneath, but also makes it completely uniform because you're using a pattern and doing flip for one side and flip for the other. All of the toes will be pretty much identical. So really great if you're trying to do this without having cast foam toes, which a lot of people do now, and is great if you can get your hand on those. Those are awesome. But if you got a new shape you want to do, this is a way of getting it nice and perfect and even. If the 1 centimeter foam is too thick, you can go ahead and use something like this 1/2 centimeter foam. So same deal. You can see the difference in thickness here. Oh, cameras, adjust please, thank you. You can see the difference in the thickness here. So if you want just to basically smooth out these lines, or these cut marks, you can use the 1/2 centimeter stuff. And that just barely adds, it adds, well, on total from both side to side, it would add 1 centimeter because 1/2 and 1/2, right? But it barely adds anything, and it just kind of gets rid of all these little cut marks here. Great for toes, great for muzzles too, or cheeks if you want to try and get those nice and smooth. So you can see the difference in the toes here. If I line them up side by side, it's not glued down, obviously, so it's going to stick out a wee bit, but you can kind of see the difference in the thickness there, and the smoothness of this, how nice and clean this is. You can absolutely put it on with your cut marks and registration marks on the outside here. I always turn them on the inside because if you have black Sharpie and white fur that's possibly going on your toes, you don't want those black Sharpie markers to possibly come through on the fur. So I always put my marks on the inside. But if you're the kind of person who wants to see those even lines and figure out exactly where dead center is, by all means, you can do the Sharpie on the outside. So that's how I go about doing it. Now I'm going to push these toesies out of the way and show you a foot that is already completed. And that is this guy here. So you can see the difference that makes. Now, if you add on one layer on the outside and it's not quite enough, go ahead and add 2. On these toes here, you can see I have the 1/2 centimeter on the outside, 1 centimeter on the inside, and there's my original full 5 centimeter block, 2-inch toe. That is this guy right here. So I've got 2 layers on this toe and only 1 layer on here. And that's kind of how I get that nice big shape. It's nice and even. It'll be really easy for patterning for when I'm putting the fur on. And it gives me that nice smoothness. I do have to obviously blend this in here with the rest of the shoe. You can kind of see sticking out a lot here. So this will be blended in all the way to the heel. And that's how I make my foot paws. Oh, one more thing to note. As you can see, clear off my workspace here. See how my shoe is sitting? Complete and flat. But we've got a gap here underneath the toes. That is very important. When you're walking in shoes have a natural curve to them for that roll through motion, right? show it on the side here, that rock motion. If you leave the foam at the end of the toes completely flat, I'm just going to grab 2 foam here, completely flat and touching the ground, when you go to do the walkthrough, see how it's going to buckle? So that actually gives you kind of that flipper foot feeling when you're walking. And you really don't want that, especially if you're going to be doing stairs or escalators or jogging, any kind of quick movement in your feet. You want to have that follow through. So it is important to either cut this little bit or glue it kind of up, but you definitely do want to follow through with this nice kind of curved motion here. So that way when you're doing your outings in your fursuit feet, you're going to be way less likely to trip or to stumble in any kind of way. And let's face it, you already got like 5 inches of foam on each side of your running shoe, so we want to try and make it as easy as possible for people to walk around in our foot paws, right? So there you go. There's my tips and tricks. Yeah, enjoy.